Welcome to episode 277 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's August 4, 1905, London, the Football Association, and Billy Meredith, Manchester City's great winger, Wales international, FA Cup hero, and one of football's first superstars, is suspended. His offence? Trying to bribe Aston Villa captain Alec Leake. £10 to throw a match. Meredith denies it. The FA doesn't believe him. And what begins as one player scandal becomes something much bigger. Illegal payments, maximum wage rules, Manchester City investigation, players sold off, Manchester United transformed, and Billy Meredith reborn as one of football's first great labour voices. But how did we get here? Start with the man. Billy Meredith is Welsh, born in Chirk in northeast Wales, a mining village. He works down the pit as a pony driver. Then football takes him away. He joins Manchester City in 1894 when the club is still becoming itself. And almost immediately, Manchester notices him. In only his second game for City, Meredith scores twice against Newton Heath, soon to become Manchester United. Perfect, really. One of the first great Manchester football stories already has both clubs in it. Meredith plays outside right. He's fast, direct, elusive. A dribbler, a crosser, a goal threat from the wing. He becomes famous for running with a toothpick in his mouth, tucked under his moustache. Sometimes it was chewing tobacco. This is football before television, before radio commentary makes voices famous, before the global player brand economy. So charisma has to travel by newspaper, by crowd memory, by reputation, or by people saying, you have to come see him. And people did. Meredith helps Manchester City win the second division in 1899. Then comes 1904. City reached the FA Cup final against Bolton Wanderers at Crystal Palace. Meredith scores the only goal. Manchester City win 1-0, first major trophy in the club's history. And Meredith is not just part of it. He's the decisive man, the star, the match winner, the footballer people pay to watch. But this is also a game under financial pressure. The Football Association legalized professionalism 20 years earlier, but only inside limits. There is a maximum wage. By 1901, that maximum is £4 a week. £4. For footballers who are drawing crowds, winning trophies, and becoming the reason clubs make money. So football has a problem. The game is professional enough to sell, but not professional enough to let players share properly in what they create. That is where hypocrisy breeds. Clubs want the best players. Players want better money. The rules say one thing, but the dressing rooms and back rooms say another. And corruption is not rare in this world. It is one of the shadows cast by early professionalism. Preston North End had been accused of paying players before professionalism was even legalized. West Ham were caught in the 1890s over illegal player recruitment. Burnley's goalkeeper Jack Hillman was banned after a bribery allegation in 1900. Newton Heath, soon Manchester United, had payment trouble too, and that is all before Meredith. So don't imagine a pure game suddenly spoiled by one rogue winger. The money is already there. The crowd's already there. The temptation is already there. Now 1904-05, Manchester City are chasing the first division title. On the final day, they go to Aston Villa. They need to win, but they lose 3-2. Newcastle win the league, and City finish third. And after the match, Aston Villa captain Alec Leake makes the allegation. Billy Meredith, he says, offered him £10 to throw the game. £10, more than 2 weeks of the legal maximum wage. Meredith says he's innocent, but the FA investigates and finds him guilty. On August 4, 1905, Meredith is suspended. Contemporary newspaper headlines tell you how big this was. The charge of attempting to buy a match, a season's suspension for Meredith. This is not a small disciplinary note. This is English football staring at one of its biggest names and saying, you tried to corrupt the result. And Manchester City do not stand behind him. That is the turning point, because Meredith expects support. Instead, City distance themselves. So Meredith does something dangerous. He talks. He says, in effect, why am I alone? What was the secret of Manchester City's success? According to Meredith, the club was paying players more than the legal maximum. He claims everyone knew. Everyone benefited. But only he is being punished. Now the FA has a bigger case. Not just a bribe, a club, a wage system, a financial culture. Manchester City are investigated. The findings are serious. City have made additional payments to players. Manager Tom Malley is punished. The club is fined. Directors are punished. 17 players are fined and suspended until January 1907. And City are forced to sell players. This is the earthquake, because the punishment does not just discipline City, it redistributes Manchester football. Meredith is sold to Manchester United. United also takes Sandy Turnbull, Herbert Burgess, and Jimmy Bannister. Those players become central to United's rise. Manchester City's scandal helps build Manchester United's first great side. Football has a cruel sense of humour. United win the league in 1908. They win the FA Cup in 1909. Meredith is there. Turnbull is there. Burgess is there. Bannister is there. The players City lost help United become champions. But so what? Meredith's story shows how early the modern football economy arrived. This is 1905, and already we have most of the ingredients: star players, clubs chasing advantage, wage controls, side payments, a bribery allegation, governing body discipline, and a public argument over who really benefits from the game. Football is barely into its professional age, and already it has the same central question it has today. Who gets the money? The club? The player? The owner? The crowd? The answer in 1905 is clear. Not the player. The maximum wage keeps players under control. Transfer rules keep them under control. Even when a player is famous, even when he fills grounds, even when he wins cups, his freedom is limited. That is why Meredith's second life matters. He's not just a scandal figure. He becomes one of football's first labor leaders. On New Year's Day 1907, while still waiting for his ban to end, Meredith helps form the Players' Union, and he becomes its first chairman. The union's formal name is the Association Football Players and Trainers Union, and its central demand is simple. Players want rights. The fight continues in 1909, when the FA demands players leave the union. Some refuse. Manchester United players are photographed as the famous Outcasts FC. Meredith is part of that rebellion. The maximum wage will not be abolished until 1961, so the road from Meredith to Jimmy Hill is long, but Meredith is on it early. Manchester City and Manchester United are both reshaped. City had just won the FA Cup in 1904 and come close to the league in 1905. So instead of becoming England's next dominant force, they are broken open. Players punished, players sold, momentum lost. United, meanwhile, buy the wreckage. Remember, Newton Heath had only become Manchester United in 1902 after a financial crisis. By 1908, United are champions of England. The City scandal is one of the hidden accelerators of United history. And the 1915 Good Friday betting scandal proves that the disease was not cured. We covered that in episode 153. If you want the full story, go back and listen. Manchester United 2, Liverpool 0. Old Trafford, Good Friday, a match later judged to have been fixed around suspicious exact score betting, strange misses, strange body language, a Liverpool penalty missed horribly, Fred Pagnam apparently refusing to play along, 17 players banned for life. And again, the same pattern appears. Players under financial pressure, betting already deep in football culture, weak structures, and the integrity of the match bending from inside the dressing room. That is the key link. Meredith in 1905 is bribery. Good Friday in 1915 is betting and match fixing. Different mechanisms, same warning. Once money enters football, the question is not whether temptation will appear. It will. The question is whether the game has the structures to resist it. Early English football didn't. Not fully. Meredith himself remains complicated. The easy version is he tried to bribe a player and got caught. That may be true. The FA believed it was true. But the fuller version is more interesting. Meredith is guilty in the record, but also useful as a witness. A culprit who exposes a system. A star punished for a bribe who points toward a wider corruption. Not just match fixing, but illegal wages, secret payments, and a structure designed to keep players down while clubs grew richer. That doesn't make him innocent. It makes him important. He returns to football in 1907. He plays for Manchester United for years. He wins 2 league titles and an FA Cup. And then, remarkably, he returns to Manchester City in 1921. In 1924, aged 49, he scores his final City goal in an FA Cup tie against Brighton. 49. Still there, still chewing the toothpick, still the old wizard on the wing. He passes away in 1958, aged 83, just months after the Munich air disaster. Even his death is almost swallowed by a different Manchester tragedy. But his story survives because it sits at the crossroads. City and United, stardom and scandal, bribery and labor rights, old football and modern football. Before we go, 3 things to take away from August 4, 1905. First, Billy Meredith was not a minor player caught in a minor scandal. He was one of football's earliest superstars, City's 1904 FA Cup hero, and one of the defining Manchester players of his age. Second, the Bribe case opened a much larger problem. Manchester City's illegal payments were exposed, players were suspended, officials punished, and City were forced to sell key men. Third, 1905 was not an isolated scandal. It belongs in a wider early corruption pattern that runs through illegal wages, bribery, betting, and the Good Friday scandal of 1915. On this day in 1905, Billy Meredith was suspended after being found guilty of trying to bribe Aston Villa's Alec Leake. £10, 1 allegation, 1 scandal, and a reminder that once football became professional, money was never going to stay outside the game. That is all for episode 277 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. Did you like this story? If so, I ask you please to help OTD get pushed in front of new people. Hit the subscribe button, rate the show 5 stars, share it with your friends. It's the algorithm. But thank you very much. Tomorrow, go to August 5, 1973. Chile beats Peru in a World Cup playoff on the road towards an intercontinental playoff against the Soviet Union, with Chile itself moving toward coup d'etat and a day of destiny. See you then.